A sea serpent or sea dragon is a type of dragon sea monster described in various mythologies, most notably Mesopotamian Tiamat, Judeo-Christian Leviathan, Greek Cetus, Echidna, Scylla and Norse, Jormungandr, and feeds on sea nettles, crabs and similar marine animals. It has long hair hanging from its neck, sharp black scales and flaming red eyes. It attacks vessels, grabs and swallows people as it lifts itself up like a column from the water. The Drachenkampf mytheme, the chief god in the role of the hero slaying a sea serpent, is widespread both in the ancient Near East and in Indo-European mythology, e.g. Lotan and Hadad, Leviathan and Yahweh, Tiamat and Marduk. See also Labu, Basmu, Mushesu, Aluenka and Tarunt, Yamu and Baal and the Baal cycle, etc. The Hebrew Bible also has less mythological descriptions of large sea creatures as part of creation under God's command, such as the Tananum mentioned in Book of Genesis 1:21 and the great serpent of Amos 9:3. In the Aeneid, a pair of sea serpents killed Laocoon and his sons when Laocoon argued against bringing the Trojan horse into Troy. In antiquity and in the Bible, dragons were envisioned as huge serpentine monsters, which means that the image of a dragon with 2 or 4 legs and wings came much later, during the late Middle Ages. Stories depicting sea-dwelling serpents may include the Babylonian myths of Tiamat, the myths of the Hydra, Scylla, Cetus, and Echidna in Greek mythology, and Christianity's Leviathan. In Norse mythology, Jormungandr, or Midgardsormr, was a sea serpent so long that it encircled the entire world Midgard. Some stories report of sailors mistaking its back for a chain of islands. Sea serpents also appear frequently in later Scandinavian folklore, particularly in that of Norway. In 1028 AD, Saint Olaf is said to have killed a sea serpent in Valldal, Norway, throwing its body onto the mountain Silpsfjellet. Marks on the mountain are associated with the legend. In Swedish ecclesiastic and writer Olaus Magnus's Carta Marina, many marine monsters of varied form, including an immense sea serpent, appear. In his 1555 work History of the Northern Peoples, Magnus gives the following description of a Norwegian sea serpent. Norwegian Bishop Erik Pontoppidan (1698–1764) is more cautious than the Archbishop of Uppsala and does not believe that sea serpents would prey on ships. On the other hand, according to sailors of the time, serpents would destroy ships by wrapping the ship in coils of their body and pulling it underwater. Sailors threatened by a sea serpent were said to have thrown large objects such as paddles or shovels overboard in the path of the serpent, hoping that the serpent would take the object and leave without destroying the ship. An apparent eyewitness account is found in Aristotle's Historia Animalium. Strabo makes reference to an eyewitness account of a dead sea creature sighted by Poseidonius on the coast of the northern Levant. He reports the following: as for the plains, the first, beginning at the sea, is called Makras, or Makra plain. Here, as reported by Poseidonius, was seen the fallen dragon, the corpse of which was about a plegrum 30 meters or 100 feet in length, and so bulky that horsemen standing by it on either side could not see one another, and its jaws were large enough to admit a man on horseback, and each flake of its horny scales exceeded an oblong shield in length. 9. The creature was seen sometime between 130 and 51 BC. Hans Egede, the national saint of Greenland, gives an 18th century description of a sea serpent. On July 6, 1734, his ship sailed past the coast of Greenland when suddenly those on board saw a most terrible creature resembling nothing they saw before. The monster lifted its head so high that it seemed to be higher than the crow's nest on the mainmast. The head was small and the body short and wrinkled. The unknown creature was using giant fins which propelled it through the water. Later the sailors saw its tail as well. The monster was longer than our whole ship, wrote Egede. In 1845, a 35-meter-long skeleton claimed as belonging to an extinct sea serpent was put on a show in the New York City by Albert C. Cope. The claim was debunked by Professor Jeffries Wyman, an anatomist who went to see the skeleton for himself. Wyman declared that the skull of the animal had to be mammalian in origin, and that the skeleton was composed of bones of several different animals, including an extinct species of whale. On August 6, 1848, Captain McQueen of HMS Daedalus and several of his officers and crew en route to St. Helena saw a sea serpent, which was subsequently reported and debated in the Times. The vessel sighted what they named as an enormous serpent between the Cape of Good Hope and St. Helena. The serpent was witnessed to have been swimming with 1.2 meters 4 feet of its head above the water, and they believed that there was another 18 meters 60 feet of the creature in the sea. Captain McQuaho also said that the creature passed rapidly, but so close under our lee quarter, that had it been a man of my acquaintance I should have easily have recognized his features with the naked eye. According to 7 members of the crew, it remained in view for around 20 minutes. Another officer wrote that the creature was more of a lizard than a serpent. Evolutionary biologist Gary J. Galbraith contends that what the crew of Daedalus saw was a sei whale. A report was published in the Illustrated London News on April 14, 1849 of a sighting of a sea serpent off the Portuguese coast by HMS Plumper. A giant snake appeared at once from the water, and the largest cetacean, a boa constrictor, wrapped twice. I note such a physeter can grow to 20 to 30 meters long. It lasted for about 15 minutes, the deadly struggle. The sea was just foaming and crashing waves around us. Finally the back of the whale stood out of the water. He sank headfirst into the deep where the snake must have killed him. A cold shiver ran through us as said at the sight of his final struggle, so writhing poor in the monster's double ring, like a little bird between the claws of a falcon. View of the 2 rings. The snake. It could have been 160 to 170 feet long, and 7 to 8 feet thick.